Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Let's see. Let's see if this is working, you guys. I am late. I am so sorry. The reason why I'm late is because my audio wasn't working before. So I had spent basically like 10 minutes trying to figure out what's going on. Why isn't it working? Okay, yep, it's working. Okay, give me a second. Let me fix my job because I'm running late. I'm doing this on at like what time is it? 11 a.m. How are you guys doing today though? Okay, here we are. Excuse my ashy hands. All right, so let's get started because I'm late. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another live stream. I'm your girl Khadija, and today we're going to dive into the topic that many of us struggle to understand. And we're looking at the book For People Who Think, and the topic is why does God allow men and women to be hurt or to hurt each other? Why is evil allowed to exist? Right? This question that has crossed the minds of believers and non-believers alike. Today, we'll explore a Quranic perspective on suffering, trials, God's divine wisdom, and feel free to share your thoughts in the chats and comment below. Like, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to this channel. And for those who may benefit. Okay, so we're in chapter 4 of the book For People Who Think, and I'm so excited to go deeper into these pages today. Um, and I just want to thank you in advance for listening. Sorry for being MIA last week. I had a lot of family stuff going on. But yeah, I'm super excited for today. It's going to be a longer live than normal just because, I have a lot to go through. But the first thing we're going to be looking at, and thanks for being here again, the first thing we're going to be looking at is understanding free will and responsibility, right? So the book that we're looking at For People Who Think, it talks about some major key points to think about, to find the answer and to like why Allah allows evil to exist today, right? And the main key points in understanding free will and responsibility are three key points, right? The concept of free will, how it empowers us and make us accountable for our actions. And the second thing is evil is not created by Allah, but it's a consequence of human actions, behaviors, so forth, right? And then there is a quote specifically in the book, a great quote from the book, and it says, however, according to the final book, aka the Quran, the limited free will and reasons of human beings destroys that argument. We are responsible for what we do and must bear the consequences. That is a liability or price of freedom. The evil that we do and suffer from is chosen by us and not by Allah. With that in mind, I have the first question for you guys. Like, why, sorry about that. Why do you think, or why does free will, like, sorry, why? What does free will mean to you? Like, how do you think it shapes our responsibility in life as Muslims, right? Some people I've spoke to say that a true Muslim doesn't believe in that we actually have free will because we are slaves to Allah and we're supposed to serve him regardless. But that's gonna get me down a whole rabbit hole on why I don't agree with that perspective. But we don't have time for that today. So share in the comments where you stand on free will. And remember, this is a non-judgmental community. So no hate, just curiosity, sharing using your knowledge and love. Like I said, you could disagree with someone kindly. Anyway, so alrighty. So another thing that this book talks about, or this chapter specifically, chapter 4, is the trials as a test of faith, right? And so, some key things that was discussed by the author in this chapter is trials are inevitable, but it's tailored to our capacity of life, right? And then there's a specific quote in the book that we all know. I feel like Muslims and Christians know because in the Bible it says something similar to this, right? But it says, God does not burden any human being with more than he is well able to bear. That y'all already know that. And for the folks that be reading the Bible, it's basically the same way that they say it. So the last one is about patience and perseverance. They're like the central to like growing our faith and believing in Allah. Um, oops, just saw that. So basically, what this chapter really makes us understand is in good or in bad, we must worship Allah. For some, worshiping Allah is good or bad, right? Meaning, if they have something really good on in their life, they might forget about Allah. If they have something bad, then that's when they worship Allah, right? But this is why radical acceptance is so important, because as a part of the Muslim community, as we grow in our faith together in Sir Wali, we're striving to be better Muslims, better humans, better servers of Allah. And so we must remember that we should practice radical acceptance through God. If we want to know him more, if you want to know about Islam more, if you want more of life, because we shouldn't only praise Allah when something bad is happening or when something good is happening. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this quote or this part of the book reminded me of. So an example that I have for you guys is think of of a hardship as think of hardship as a refining process, right? Just like gold is purified through fire, our faith is strengthened through the trials and tribulation that Allah allows to come on us. So now I want to encourage each other to answer this question for me in the comment section and share your answers. When you come across this video, maybe send it to a friend and discuss it together. How do you personally find patience and hope during tough times? Maybe you have someone in your corner that you can see. And salam, everyone, for coming. Thanks for being here. So that's something to think about. How do you personally find patience and hope during tough times? And write it down so that when you are going through a tough time, you could think about it again. But anywho, the only way to get through hardship is with hope in Allah's mercy and the thought of paradise. So that's another thing that was discussed in this chapter, hope in Allah. So some key points about this chapter, this specific section, is that three key points, as always. Love number three. So the first thing is the ultimate source of hope is the promise of paradise and the closeness to Allah, right? Everybody wants that golden ticket to reunite with Allah in ending times. Well, I hope so. So even those with the second point, even those with a trace of goodness in their hearts can be saved from hell. So you just need a trace. That's it. So there's a specific quote in the Quran, or and that was discussed in this chapter, and it says, "And who other than those who have utterly lost their way could ever abandon the hope of his sustainer grace?" A great thing that we said in this chapter is that while the inhabitants of paradise are permanent dwellers, the inmates of hell, which I love this fact, are not necessarily imprisoned there forever, right? I know, like, being a revert from Christianity, it was always like the thought process that there is nothing, like when you're in hell, that's it, you're done forget about it. Like you're dead to God and you can't ask for forgiveness when you're at that point, right? But that's what's so beautiful about the Quran. That's what's so beautiful about being Muslim. You know, the thought process that inmates in hell are not necessarily imprisoned there forever. There are some who shall ultimately be freed. So with this, it makes you think even those who didn't make it to heaven on the first go, right? And they can have a little hope, of the possibility that someday they might make it to heaven. So that's what this section was about, the hope in Allah's mercy and the thought of paradise, even when you're in hell. So imagine, right? Close your eyes. Imagine a paradise as a place where all struggles fades, replaced by indescribable joy and peace. This hope is what fuels our patience and our perseverance, as Muslims. So that's what this specific section of the chapter spoke about. I don't know, share your thoughts in the comments on what you think about that specific last topic I talked about having hope in hell, which I feel like that must be so hard. But anyways, the last topic that this chapter the author talks about is addressing common misconceptions. And I love it. 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 So the key points, three, if you didn't guess it, is first, suffering doesn't imply the absence of Allah. It's a part of His divine plan. And so that's why, once again, radical acceptance is something that as Muslims we should practice radical acceptance through Allah, because that will always remind us that whatever we're going through in that moment, it's temporary, it's going to pass, because suffering doesn't imply the absence of Allah. It's a part of His divine plan. Like the suffering, this is the second point. Misfortune happens to all, but it serves different purposes. So some are as a test, others are as a purification, to get whatever out of your system that you shouldn't be having in your system in the first place. Um, so yeah, that's, when you practice that radical acceptance and you're going through these things, you have these reminders that this chapter talks about in the back of your head, right? You're always thinking that. So third is how we respond shapes our spiritual journey. So here's a question for you guys. If you're still here, thanks for still being here. So here's a question. Have you ever experienced a hardship that later turned out to be a blessing? Um, or have you, like, think about the worst thing that happened in the moment, you thought it was the worst thing, but then afterwards you realize, oh, mashallah, this is what God will, and it was actually a blessing. So share with me in the chats, what that looks like. Tell me about that experience. Let's talk about it together. Um, so that we can learn about each other and just grow this community. For me, trying to think about what's a hardship that later turned out. Oh, I know. For me, a hardship that later turned out to be a blessing was when I first came to America, and my understanding of God was different from a lot of other Christians' understanding of God. I was told at that moment that I was going to go to hell for believing what I believe, which is Jesus isn't God at the time, and I was basically told that I couldn't consider myself or call myself Christian anymore. At that time, it put me through the hardship of like a identity crisis, I would say. Like I like spent years meditating on this was who I always am. This is a part of my branding. This is part of my being. I'm a Christian. And now I'm being told I'm going to go to hell, and what I believe to be true my whole entire life is not true. And yeah, just that, that was just scary for me. And it made me make a lot of decisions in the time that I considered, oh, this is the worst thing ever, going through that crisis. But in the long run, it led me to Islam. And so that was such a blessing. So that's something that I can think of off the top of my head. So share below what have you experienced, like any hardship that later turned out to be a blessing, and let's chat about it. Um, but alrighty, family, we dived into a lot today. This is a long live. It's supposed to be 5 to maybe 15 minutes max, but we're going a bit over. So thanks for still being here. So let's recap, right? Free will, trials, and hope in Allah's mercy. So, as always, I want to leave you with something. So, I'm inviting you to reflect on this question throughout the week. How can we transform our perspective on suffering to strengthen our faith? Okay. That's what I want you to think about for the remainder of this week. Um, if you're still listening, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and share this video with your loved ones. And just anyone that you thought needed to hear about this chapter for people who think. Like I said, again, you could find this in our Islamic Resource Hub under Islamic Library. And then you could click on free books and you'll see it listed for people who think on there. If you want, I could also put it in the description for you guys. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, let's end with a final message, a small dua. You know, may Allah grant us patience in adversity, gratitude in ease, and unwavering hope in His mercy. Amen. So thank you for joining me today. Remember, every trial has a purpose, and every hardship carries the seed of hope. So that is what I want you to take from this chapter this week. Tomorrow, I'm going to go live again. Let me tell you guys what time. Thanks for the love. Let me tell you what time I'm going to go live tomorrow. Let's see here. Is it tomorrow? It actually might not be tomorrow. It might be Thursday, and we're going to be looking at Islam and the destiny of men, and what history taught Muslims about unity and disunity. So that's going to be a juicy. So tune in. I might go live tomorrow, like just shortly, randomly. Don't have a time or a specific agenda. I just want to go live to just really thank everyone for like a few minutes of just, subscribing to my channel, interacting with my channel, sharing my channel, and just asking really good questions to get the conversation going in the comments, and being curious about Islam, and just, looking to improve upon your faith. So thank you all so much. I also just want to say I couldn't be where I am today without you all and your support. So thank you. So that's it. I'm gonna let you guys go. May Allah bless you for the remainder of the day. And remember to share your comments when you have time about those last two things that I asked you guys for, which is how can we transform our perspective on suffering to strengthen our faith? Um, yeah, so until next time, take care, stay steadfast in your faith, always be curious, use your mind and reasoning, and may Allah guide you to the truth. May Allah guide you to a understanding and loving heart. And assalamu alaikum. Bye.